been hooked up in the flow, and it goes down and gets hooked into what they're called strainers, and it's just there's a lot of dangers under the surface of the water, especially when we're dealing with swift moving streams.
Describe for us what the conditions are right now. What are we dealing with right now?
Well, we've got runoff that's occurring right now. We had 80-degree temperatures on Saturday, and that spiked to where we started having some more heavier flows coming down off of our mountains, and we just need to be very cautious of those pieces there. And then water temperatures are low. And it may be 80 degrees outside, but in this circumstance, the Weaver River with this, very well, high chance that the water may have been 45 degrees, maybe even less than that with that. And that's a extreme temperature difference between the water temp and your body temperature. So that could have played into this situation.
According to the Department of Health and Human Services, between 2011 and 2020, 70% of Utah's drownings among children happened in the late spring and the summer months. About a third happened near a river, lake, or canal. What is your advice about life jackets, even if you're not planning to go into the water?
Well, I mean, even with that aspect there, the plan for life jackets, I would just say for that, especially when we're talking with children, is have a person that is a designated water watcher. That person is responsible for watching the individuals in their party, making sure that they're not going near the rivers or fast flowing streams that we do have. And, don't take your eye off of them. Leave your phone somewhere else so you cannot be distracted, and take care of those folks that are there. And the main thing is stay away from the edge, because you don't know with higher flows of whether it's been undercut or not. And so that's the biggest thing, is just right now and these times, stay away, and then the rest of the times keep a good watch on your children.
Yeah, water just is a magnet for kids, isn't it?
Well, I think it's a magnet for kids, and it's also a magnet for kids of all ages. To say that is, we like to go watch the mesmerizing effect of the water moving downstream. People like to throw sticks and rocks in and see what happens, and it's water is just an amazing resource for us, but we really need to respect it and take our stake and the risks, and make sure that we weigh those risks and take care of ourselves so we can return home with our families at the end of the day.
Ty, anything you'd like to add?
Summer's coming. We got our first taste of it on Saturday, and biggest thing is folks, when you're out, you're visiting any of our waterways, whether it's a river or if it's a reservoir or a natural lake, when you're going to go near the water or go into the water, please wear a life jacket. They will save your life, and they only work when you wear them.
Ty, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for being with me.
Thank you.
That is Ty Hunter. He's the boating program manager with the Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation. Coming up, we'll shift gears and get the latest political news, including developments about restoring Alcatraz prison and using it as a jail once again.
Emergency traffic on KSL News Radio, brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. Well, Davis County drivers, they're holding traffic back once again. All lanes completely stopped due to this crash on southbound I-15 at 5th West in Bountiful. Continue to bring your patience behind the wheel. We still have a parking lot through Centerville, but because some people are starting to exit off the freeway, delays don't go quite as far back. However, if you miss the Legacy switch off or you don't jump over to Highway 89, you're going to be stuck in these delays. And once again, they are blocking right lanes with the crash and holding back all traffic until they can get this accident cleared. So think ahead, plan ahead. If you can jump off the freeway to get to where you need to be headed southbound, you want to consider Highway 89 or Legacy through Centerville. Water belongs in pipes, not in your yard or on your floor. Call Utah Utility Pro, your leak detection and repair specialist. Water, sewer, main, and gas lines. Utah Utility Pro, utahutilitypro.com. Ricky Neeson, the KSL Traffic Center.
The news of the day lands harder when it affects you.
I really want our stories to focus more on the human element. focus on how it's affecting the mom and her children. I want us to go more in depth and really take a look at what is at the heart of the story and how does it affect your pocketbook, or how does it affect your lifestyle. My name is Maria Shilaos. I invite you to join us from noon to 3 for Midday right here on KSL News Radio.
Do you want to make your house more comfortable, more energy efficient, more valuable? Well, maybe it's time you took a look at your doors and windows. And there's nobody around who does doors and windows better than Peach Doors and Windows.
Improve the functionality of your home with custom replacement windows, entry doors, patio doors. Maybe you have a sunroom or you want a new custom front door and windows to maximize the beauty of your home. Peach offers flexible financing available to fit any budget. They've got expert installation, including fiberglass doors, which are their specialty. And they'll replace your windows with the highest energy efficiency rating.
And customer service is a top priority. It's the reason why they have so many 5-star reviews on Google. You can check it out for yourself. You can also check them out online at peachbuildingproducts.com. You can call for a free in-home estimate, 801-566-1255.
Or see them in person, 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake City. They're open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. Go check out their beautiful showroom. It's Peach Doors and Windows.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our client's portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Every 2 minutes, an American is sexually assaulted. Be the someone who gives their time. Be the someone who lends an ear. Be the someone who takes a step. This is Christina Ricci with RAIN, asking you to join the fight against sexual violence and volunteer in your community. Log on to RAIN.org, that's RAINN.org, to learn how you can be the someone.
This message brought to you by the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network and this station.
You are listening to Midday with Maria Shilaos. Congress is still working to approve President Trump's budget, his big, beautiful bill. House Republicans are rumored to try and narrow the budget this week. Now, the debates are still happening over tax cuts, Medicaid changes, clean energy tax credits, and tax deductions. News Nation's Joe Khalil has been tracking it all. He joins us now to share some updates. So, Joe, give us an overview. What's the latest on the budget talks?
Hey, so look, this is going to be difficult for Republicans to do. Anytime you have a massive piece of legislation that is transformational, you've got a lot of competing interests within the Republican Party. So this week, there were supposed to be what we call markups here on Capitol Hill, which is essentially where you kind of mark up the bill itself in different portions of it. Different committees have their own sections of the bill. So the Agriculture Committee are going to deal with the ag and farming and SNAP benefits. The others are going to be dealing with their respective areas. Some of those were canceled or delayed for this week, and that is an indication to us that a lot of the nitty-gritty details of what is going to be in this package are still being worked out. I think some of the big points of tension are Medicaid. It's pretty clear in some level, Medicaid is going to be cut. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, told me last week that they're going to get rid of the waste and fraud and abuse. He said they're going to save Medicaid, but that services won't be cut. You've got other Republicans who have a lot of Medicaid recipients in their districts. They are concerned about how much may be cut. So that's one big debate among many. Another one that we've certainly heard of is SALT deductions, basically state and local taxes. In larger, even more blue states. You've got Republicans from California and New York who want to make sure that their constituents can get a bigger tax deduction for their local and state property taxes. That's also a big fight. So there's a lot of interests here that are competing, that are sort of working out how the sausage is being made this week. But Speaker Johnson today says he's optimistic, and he thinks the House can pass its version before or just after Memorial Day. So we will see if they can actually put that down.
Americans are facing increased costs everywhere they look, increased prices. What are really the chances that we're going to see a tax cut somewhere?
Yeah, I think it's going to happen. The Congress is working on at least trying to keep the 2017 Trump tax cuts in place. So it seems like there's enough will to get that done at a minimum. It would just extend the current tax situation. In terms of a deeper tax cut beyond that, there are certainly a lot of Republicans, and we've heard President Trump say that he wants to do that in addition to eliminating taxes on things like tips and things like overtime work. Those are things President Trump promised on the campaign trail. So they are working now, the White House, along with their allies in Congress, to try to make those things law. The challenge is the more tax cuts that you put in place, the less government funds the government actually has, and that increases the deficit. You've got a group of Republicans who are absolutely committed to voting against anything that increases our national deficit. So they say, okay, if you want to cut taxes, that's fine, but we have to find other places spending cuts to pay for your tax cuts. Exactly. And again, that is where the rubber's meeting the road here.
Right. And there's been a lot of consternation over the DOGE cuts. So where else would they cut? I mean, which programs are at biggest risk?
Yeah, and again, I think a lot of that sort of has to begin with the entitlements. President Trump has promised no cuts to Social Security, and he also has said no cuts to Medicaid. But again, as we've been explaining, that debate is sort of happening. You hear different Republicans talking about how much in Medicaid cuts they would be able to swallow. So those are questions there. There are questions before that I had heard from some sources about potential cuts to the Pentagon, and on the table was a proposal for laying off thousands, tens of thousands, if not more, of non-uniformed members, so civilian members within the Pentagon, the DOD, that are all over the country. But the president just put out his proposed budget just last week, and in it, he actually increased spending. And you had other Republicans who said he didn't increase it enough. They said they were against it because they want more Pentagon spending. So, again, it is going to be really difficult to see how they achieve all of their spending goals at the same time as all of their tax cut goals. It seems like something will have to give. And as soon as they do those markups that I told you about, we'll start to have an idea of where the give actually is.
Joe, I appreciate your time. Thanks for being with me.
Of course. Thanks for having a nerdy conversation with me.
I loved it. Thank you. News Nation's Joe Khalil joining me live on the KSL Newsline. We will be back in 1 minute with more politics on Midday with Maria Shilaos.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors to tell you about our 10-year everything guarantee. Most contractors spout off having great warranties that last forever. But those warranties are always, and I do mean always, riddled with loopholes, exception, fine print, and nonsense. At RGS Exteriors, we cover everything. Parts, labor, material, everything and anything for 10 full years. There's no cost to you whatsoever. No hoops to jump through, no exceptions. Yes, the products we sell, like James Hardie siding, our windows, gutter covers, come with a 25 to 50-year manufacturer's warranty, just like everybody else. But the truth is, the products almost never fail. It's always the labor and material which is never covered, so you're stuck paying for service calls. For peace of mind, call RGS Exteriors. You'll sleep easy for 10 full years. 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsutah.com. That's 801-280-3110 or online rgsutah.com. Gutters, siding, windows, and all exteriors with the 10-year everything guarantee.
Thank you for joining us for Midday with a look at more political stories of the day. Here's KSL News Radio's Andy Cupp.
Maria, a lot happening on the national political front today. One of the biggest stories we've been following is President Trump saying he will pay immigrants here in the country who are here illegally in the country, $1,000 to leave. The Department of Homeland Security will also pay for travel assistance. Utah immigration attorney Carlos Trujillo speaking on Midday a short time ago about some of his concerns with the payments and the idea of self-deportation.
If you came and you say you overstay or you came one time crossing the border,
and you're going to go out and maybe you have a child that is going to petition you, you can lose being back in your home country easily 7 to 10 years because of different bars and punishment that the law provides for. And the fact that they're paying for you and the fact that you're going voluntarily is not going to excuse that punishment. So you have to be careful and understand what it actually means to leave the way that they're asking you to leave.
And in other news, a new interview with NBC aired this weekend, and President Trump floating the idea to bring back one of the country's most notorious prisons. ABC's Christine Cordero.
President Trump is directing the federal government to reopen Alcatraz, the notorious former prison on the San Francisco Bay known as The Rock, considered escape-proof and the subject of multiple Hollywood films. Trump says he wants to reopen and expand the prison to house America's most ruthless and violent offenders.
Now, President Trump, when he arrived at the White House again last night, he spoke a little bit about this idea of reopening Alcatraz prison in San Francisco.
It's long been a symbol, Alcatraz, of whatever it is. I mean, it's a sad symbol, but it's a symbol of law and order. And, it's got quite a history, frankly. So I think we're going to do that, and we're looking at it right now.
President Trump also fielding more questions on his immigration agenda in the interview that NBC aired over the weekend. Here's more from ABC's Karen Travers at the White House.
He, of course, took an oath of office to become president, not once but twice. And you also heard him say that his deportation policies, which was such a big part of his campaign message and a big part of his first 100 days agenda, he was suggesting that by having due process and by following that, it would actually be a detriment to his policies. He said you'd have to have millions of trials. Of course, you could be talking about hearings, not trials here, but the president suggesting that following the law and following the Constitution would complicate the things he is trying to do.
So there's a lot going on in the political world, Maria. We'll be sure to track it all here on KSL News Radio.
We're going to take a quick break for some national and local headlines. When we return, a look at how more Utah women are joining the workforce. It's midday at KSL News Radio. Hello, I'm Maria Shilaos. Some of the stories we are watching this hour. New tariffs took effect on imported auto parts this weekend. The National Hockey League's draft lottery begins tonight, and KSL traffic.
We do have residual delays, but they're opening up that left lane southbound I-15 at 5th West Bountiful. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We are looking forward to a high today of 65 degrees, 63 tomorrow. By the weekend, though, we will be in the mid-80s. Let's take a look at our national news from ABC News. KSL News Time is 1:31.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Nationwide air traffic controllers are dealing with staff shortages and aging equipment, and we're learning more about that brief outage of flight screens at Newark Liberty International Airport 1 week ago. ABC's Sam Sweeney says it prevented controllers from talking with aircraft for more than a minute.
This had a ripple effect throughout the day at Newark, and as you can imagine, this can be a traumatic experience when you are controlling airplanes in some of the busiest and most complicated airspace in the country. The last thing you want is for your screen to go dark or freeze, and then also lose the ability to communicate with these pilots.
President Trump says his administration is in trade talks with many countries, he says, including China. Investors and businesses, though, remain uncertain over tariffs. At the White House this afternoon, the president meets with Ksenia Karelina, a U.S. Russian citizen and ballerina who was released in a prisoner swap with Russia in March. This is ABC News.
KSL's top local story. The amount of lithium produced in the United States would double thanks to a plant that would extract it from the Great Salt Lake.
The Lilac Solutions plant is being planned for Box Elder County and is expected to produce about 5,000 tons of lithium per year. Engineering and Products VP Mark Mulligan says they're able to extract lithium faster than other production facilities.
The traditional lithium facilities out there that use evaporation ponds can take months of time for the brine to work its way through the pond system. Our technology, the water takes a matter of hours to work its way through the system.
He says not only is this process faster than evaporation systems, it also puts the water back into the lake, so it will not have a negative impact. Don Brinkerhoff, KSL News Radio.
Southbound I-15 is closed in Nephi because of an accident involving hazmat cleanup. UDOT says all traffic is being forced to leave the freeway at mile marker 233, which is the Mona exit. KSL Sports. Jazz head coach Will Hardy will be sticking around at least another 6 years. The team signed Hardy to a contract extension through the 2030-2031 season. In a statement, Smith Entertainment Group's Ryan Smith called Hardy an incredible leader. The Jazz just finished their worst season in franchise history with a total of just 17 wins. A Mill Creek man is trying to get a hold of the actor Jason Bateman, but not for an autograph. Jacob Brannon is trying to return a time capsule filled with Bateman family memorabilia found at his home near 33rd and 9th.
We were just taking a walk outside, looking around the house. It was just in the old bag, leaned up against our wall. So we're like, I wonder what this is. And there it is,
Now, Brannon says a majority of the items in the time capsule are about Bateman's father and grandmother. There are photos, news articles, even locks of hair. Brannon is trying to find ways to get these items back to the Bateman family. Fans of Post Malone moved the ground twice as much last week as the largest football touchdown in the same stadium last year.
Researchers at the University of Utah's seismograph station say during Post Malone's concert, fans moved the ground 0.009 millimeters. That's more than double the activity measured during a touchdown last season and close to double last season's largest measurement when the Utes emerged from the tunnel against their game with BYU.
Okay, they say it's a tiny movement, though, about a tenth of a size of a human hair. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow has lost ground, now in negative territory, down 13 points. It sits at 41,304. S&P is down by 22 points. The NASDAQ is down by 77 points. Traffic and weather together. Emergency traffic is brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. Here's Ricky Meese.
Well, residual delays continue. That's the bad news. But the good news is the crash has been cleared. All lanes are now open. Southbound I-15 at 5th West in Bountiful. With all lanes open, we're starting to see traffic move. So hopefully these delays that still stretch solidly through Centerville will only take another 10 minutes or so to clear out. And of course, we will keep you updated. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Taking a look at the forecast for the Wasatch Front, a high of 65 today. Tomorrow it's cooler, even though the chance of rain is less tomorrow. We have an 80% chance today, 50% chance tomorrow. But then it looks like the showers tapering off, and by the weekend we are up into the mid-80s. Right now, 59 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Worried about your battery and the heat? We get it. You don't want to get stranded somewhere with a car that feels like an oven. We've got you covered at AutoZone, America's #1 battery destination. Our free battery testing and charging service can help. And if you need a battery, we'll help you find a new one, no problem. Power through with free battery testing and charging at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Email from school about the incident today.
Scary.
Teachers like me, parents, we don't always know as much as you guys do about what's going on with other kids.
Half the time, it's rumors.
Yeah, but if you're ever concerned about a friend who's having trouble with alcohol, prescription drugs, anything, you need to tell an adult, someone you know and trust. That can be hard, but speaking up about a problem is what helping a friend is all about.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
You're listening to Midday with Maria Shilaos. For those of you who are used to hearing inside sources at this time, we welcome you to this new show. Our goal is to report the news and tell the stories of the people behind it. We'll dig deeper, ask the important questions, and share the stories that connect us all. Let's take a look at some of today's top business news. Research shows Utah's women are more involved in the workforce than ever before and are more likely to be single and bear fewer children. In 2023, Utah women's participation in the labor force was 63.7%, more than 3% higher than it was in 2018. Now, that's according to a study from Utah State University's Women and Leadership Project. Their data shows Utah women are more involved than ever in the workforce, yet continue to score up to 10% lower than men when it comes to correctly answering personal finance questions. Now, the study also found that Utah women are more likely to be single, have fewer children, and be older during major family life events. U.S. job growth in April appears to be holding steady, even with the uncertainty around tariffs and what has been a more volatile stock market. Job growth remained robust last month, blowing past estimates that had been tempered due to tariff uncertainty. The Labor Department reports that U.S. employers added roughly 177,000 jobs in April. National employment is holding steady at 4.2%. Economic analysts say that the positive data could serve to ease recession concerns that have been rising in the recent weeks. Seema Shah, global strategist at Principal Asset Management, tells CNBC that we can push through recession concerns to another month, saying that the job numbers remain very strong, suggesting that there was an impressive degree of resilience in the economy in play before the tariff shock. New tariffs taking effect on imported auto parts this weekend. Liz Pancotti is the managing director of policy and advocacy for the economic think tank Groundwork Collaborative. Now, she tells ABC News large companies can keep inventory to ease impact of the trade war, but small businesses will have a harder time.
145% tariffs on China are very, very, very high, and companies have to pay those either when those container ships hit the ports or, in some cases, before they leave China. And it's just effectively an embargo. They cannot pay those bills.
The Federal Reserve will likely keep its key short-term interest rate unchanged on Wednesday, despite criticism from President Trump and his demand that the Fed reduce borrowing costs. After causing a sharp drop in the financial markets 2 weeks ago by saying he might fire Fed Chief Jerome Powell, President Trump backed off on the idea and said he has no intention of doing so. Still, he and the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, have said that the Fed should cut the rates. The heightened scrutiny shows that even as the Trump administration backs off its threats to fire Powell, the Fed is still subject to unusually sharp political pressures despite being an independent agency. The White House says no financial decisions have been made on President Trump's call for tariffs targeting films made outside the U.S. A spokesperson said today that the administration is exploring all options. More from ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers.
The White House says there have been no final decisions on foreign film tariffs after President Trump said over the weekend he's authorizing agencies to immediately start the process to put a 100% tariff on movies coming into the U.S. produced overseas. It's not clear what films or companies would be targeted, foreign films and productions, or American companies that film their movies overseas. The president claimed in a social media post that it is a, quote, national security threat when other countries offer incentives to draw American filmmakers and film studios overseas. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
KSL News Radio's Andy Farnsworth hosts the movie show each Friday. He spoke to Dave and Dujanovic about the potential effects of tariffs on the movie industry.
You know, I think your first thought is how would this, are they going to charge, we've been talking about real goods and the increased charges for real goods, but because this isn't a real good in the same sense, I don't think it would come to ticket prices at all. I mean, that's determined by a whole lot of other factors, but what it could mean is fewer movies to choose from at the movie theater, because depending on the distribution, something, and of course, obviously lots would have to be worked out. We're just reacting day one after we hear about this. I've been actually reading up on some of the reaction for film insiders, people who make films that are in and outside the United States. And part of the confusion is how would this be levied? And, if a U.S. film shoots in part, where would the charge come in? And so where it most likely would be felt is on the studio end. And so, just my thoughts initially are that we would see fewer independent films, because those are the ones that have the budgets that can't absorb exorbitant costs, which is part of the reason they're shooting in other places. That's why Vancouver stands in for, the south side of Chicago when they film like a TV series, for example, because to shoot in the U.S. is so prohibitively expensive that they can't make it for the budget that they've been allotted or the funds that they've raised. So either people who are financing the films would have to say, look, we can't finance this. It's too much for the risk. We don't know if this film is going to sell. The other flip side is because, there's always reciprocal tariffs. What about U.S. films that were looking to get more money internationally? And now the international people would be like, yeah, you know what? We're not really interested in taking that American film anymore that we used to, that we might have done in the past.
We'll continue tracking that story to see when and if those tariffs go into effect. Stay with us. Midday continues in 60 seconds.
If your water heater's over 10 to 15 years old, congratulations. You've beat the average. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I love hearing stories of people having water heaters that are really old and they're still doing their job. Unfortunately, most of us won't be that lucky. And when water heaters fail, it's usually in spectacularly inconvenient fashion. Whether it's an unexpected cold shower when we're already running late for work, or worse yet, coming home to a flooded basement, it's never fun. If you'd like to look into replacing your water heater before it fails, Any Hour Services is having a sale for any homeowners listening. Whether you're looking for a new tanked water heater or you want to see what upgrading to a tankless would cost, the plumbers at Any Hour Services can show you what options are available. And right now, you can save $400 on a tanked water heater or $1,200 on a tankless. If you think you might be interested, call Any Hour Services today and schedule your free estimate. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Thank you for being with us for Midday. Before we went to the break, we spoke a bit about business and the economy, specifically tariffs. With that in mind, we want to talk about a segment that we're doing on Midday, one where you can chime in on how the news stories of the day are impacting your life. Executive producer of the show, Andy Cupp, joins me now live. Let's talk a little bit about this segment.
This was one of the important things as we were kind of crafting the design of this show. That was one of the things we really wanted was listener engagement. A lot of our listeners, they know about our text line and they'll text in comments and whatnot, but there's not a lot you can say in a text message. But we really want people's voices. And this is a perfect opportunity to hear what people in Utah are thinking about the news, how they're thinking about the news. And we can kind of put those together and see patterns on what are people thinking.
And then we can go in depth on whatever the subject or concerns of Utahns are.
Exactly. And so by dedicating this segment in particular, the 1:30-ish time, it'll be a great time to connect with the listeners. Like I said, we really want to hear comments, concerns, and we'll do that by posing a question of the day. Then we'll ask people to respond, whether it's through the KSL News Radio app or through a phone line that we have set up for this.
Okay, I can't believe how easy it is to respond on your app. So if you have the app, it's really easy to do this. You might want to download it if you don't. So this is how you do it. You just open up the app, and at the very bottom of the homepage, you see the call-in tab, and you just click on that, and you tell us your first name and where you're calling from, and then you give us a quick response to the question. But you can also call in.
That is true. We have a phone number that's been set up, 801-575-4606. And you can call, leave us a message, like Maria said, give us, your name, where you're from, and then give us a short message on how you're feeling about whatever question we pose for the day.
Okay, so here is the question of the day. How have the new tariffs impacted your buying? Tell us what you've bought preemptively because you're worried about the price going up, or maybe what you're putting off, or if you're living a normal life, you can tell us that too.
Again, leave us your name, where you're calling from, and then your response. You can do it on the KSL News Radio app. Just tap the Call In tab there on the homepage. Super easy, too, because you can review your message before you send it in.
Right, you can re-record it if you were a little nervous. Right.
Always the best there. Or you can call and leave your message at 801-575-4606.
Okay, as Midday continues, the NHL Draft Lottery is about to begin. We'll get the latest insights from our own hockey insider. That's after these messages.
Sign up for KSL Text Alerts. Get breaking news and traffic updates by texting the word news to 57500. Want access to exclusive contests? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking jazz updates. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply.
We've had an emergency traffic situation all morning. Let's get the latest with Ricky Meese.
Isn't that some good music that we have playing? It is not the emergency traffic sounder, and that means we are looking so much better on southbound I-15 in Davis County, where we had that earlier accident at 5th West Bountiful. The crash has been cleared. All lanes are open. It's still a little busy in the area, but no real delays. And we have had a small accident northbound I-15 prior to 2100 South over to the shoulder. Whipple Service Champions, your cooling, heating, plumbing, drains, and electrical specialist. Whipple that away. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And join KSL Radio's Amanda Dixon this Friday from 3 to 5 at the Salt Lake NPS store at 1600 Empire Road, npsstore.com.
Giving the gift of time during the holidays is a hallmark of the season, but the need for kind hearts and an extra pair of hands is here all year long. You Serve Utah is encouraging Utahns across the state to pledge now to serve those in need in the coming year. You and your family will help spread the holiday spirit long after the holidays have passed. When will you pledge? To sign up, visit www.userve.utah.gov.
Need to replace your Social Security card? In most states, you can request one online with a My Social Security account. A My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can also get a proof of income letter, estimate and apply for benefits, and more. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security. Securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Get ready for Camping World's Red, White, and New Trade event, May 15th through the 18th. Get the highest value for your RV guaranteed during the biggest RV trade event of the year. Shop the best RV deals in America with new RVs starting as low as $92 a month. Get ready for the holiday weekend with up to 45% off grills and 25% off product installation. Plus, we'll have free hats, free propane refills, free food, and fun for the whole family. Don't miss the incredible Red, White, and New Trade event, May 15th through the 18th at your local Camping World.
See dealer for full details and disclaimer.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to Big Wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular to get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for autopay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
This is Midday with Maria Shilaos. The National Hockey League's draft lottery begins tonight, setting the stage for how NHL teams will make up their rosters for the next season. Let's bring in Utah Hockey Club insider Cole Bagley to get more details. Cole, thanks for being with me.
No problem. How are you?
I'm doing great. Describe why this is a big deal.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, last year Utah was able to make their first ever draft selections. But, now this season, fast forwarding a year after their inaugural campaign, it feels a little bit more real. It feels like there's a little bit more ownership over these draft selections. And looking ahead, it's just another opportunity for Utah to bolster their roster and continue to improve one of the youngest rosters in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, how might their roster be affected by this?
Yeah, so, Utah's in a bit of a unique situation. They will be stepping into the fifth year of a rebuild. And so there starts to begin this transition where the last couple of seasons, they've been heavy on draft picks. They've been heavy on building their team, or at least their future team, by selecting, high in the first round. Whereas this season, things change a little bit. As of right now, Utah has, I believe, the 14th best odds in this draft lottery. And according to NHL rules, they actually can only move up 10 spots. So that means the best selection that they could receive is the fourth overall pick, which would still be a fantastic opportunity to select a really good player. So it's important because every year, you have an opportunity to add new young talent. The game is always, getting better. And a lot of Utah's best players are some of the youngest players. So just because the draft is a little bit different this year for Utah doesn't mean there's not a lot of value in it.
Right. Describe what you expect to happen tonight, not just for Utah, but who's going to get the top pick?
Yeah, so, looking at the odds right now, I believe that, San Jose and Chicago own the best odds. That's because they had the worst overall season. So San Jose has an 18.5% best odds, followed by Chicago, Nashville, Philadelphia, Boston, and Seattle. Those are kind of the top 5 teams with the best odds. A lot of times it's random though. That's kind of what's nice about this lottery is, hey, just because you had the worst overall record or the worst season doesn't mean you're necessarily guaranteed the top pick. But it'll likely be one of those top 5 teams that I just mentioned. And then, as I said earlier, Utah has the 14th best odds. So like I said, it's a little bit different this year for Utah. So they can move up to that 4th overall pick, but I think there's only about a 1.5% chance of them doing that.
Yeah, so how exactly does this work? I mean, they don't actually make the picks now, right?
No, so tonight's just the draft lottery odds. The actual draft will take place in late June. I believe it's the 27th and 28th. That'll be live from Los Angeles. However, most of the draft will actually take place just remotely. Most teams aren't even sending a representative out there because I think they're trying to cut back on costs a little bit. Tonight's just the draft lottery. Utah will find out what selection they'll pick, and then over the next about 6 weeks, they'll start to determine, okay, this is the pick that we have. These are the players that are going to be, that we expect to be available, who best fits our needs right now. And then in late June, they'll go ahead and make that selection.
So right now, do we have any idea who the best players are that are going to be up for grabs?
Yeah, so there's actually a lot of North American players that are looking, like they're going to be taken in the top 5. A couple of them out of the OHL, which is a junior league in Canada. A guy like Matthew Schaefer, he's a defenseman. He's actually coming off of an injury, but very, very talented. And then a guy out of Boston College, James Higgins. He's a forward, 35 points in 35 games. There's a lot of talent up and coming. As I mentioned earlier, the game is always changing. It's always getting faster, and it's pretty incredible. How talented a lot of these kids are. I mean, if you think a year ago when Utah selected 6th overall, they got TJ Gimla. He was 17 years old. I mean, these kids aren't even, graduated from high school quite yet when they're selected. So it's a lot of fun, and we'll see how Utah ends up.
Yeah, as a hockey insider, you probably geek out on this a little bit more than most people. So I want to know, what are you personally keeping your eye on?
Like in terms of the draft? Or?
Yeah, well, all of it. Like, what player would you like to see come to Utah?
Oh, man, that's a really good question. I think I'll leave that one to
There'd be a lot of them, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's all dependent on what pick that you get. I mean, if Utah kind of stays higher in that first round, it makes a difference. So, but I think overall what I'm looking most forward to this offseason is free agency. Utah has about $22 million to go and spend this offseason, and that's a pretty penny. That's a deep pocket. They're coming into year 5 of the rebuild, so things are shifting. They have an opportunity now to take this young team and potentially add some really high-level veteran talent that could make the difference and hopefully get them in the playoffs a year from now.
Cole, I appreciate your insight. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Live on the KSL Newsline, that is Utah Hockey Club insider Cole Bagley. And coming up, we're going to take just a quick minute break. And when we return, it's the Grand Prix of Legos. More on a special Lego-focused car race. That's up next.
It's springtime in the Rockies, and it's time to apply Revive Organic Soil Treatment. A Revive treatment with fertilization, aeration, and good watering is the key to building stronger roots for a healthy, lush green lawn. Revive fertilizes and moves water and nutrients deeper into the soil. Take advantage of spring storms with an application of Revive now. Protect yourself from drought later this summer and skyrocketing water costs. With Revive, if you water 2 times a week, it's like watering 4. Apply Revive Organic Soil Treatment today. It works.
Behold, 'tis I, Queen Trustworth, sentinel for seniors amongst the Knights of Scamelot, here to give thee warning. Scams and fraud are on the rise in Utah, and seniors are especially under siege. Be wary of unsolicited texts, phone calls, and salespeople asking for personal or financial information, and never send money to someone thou hast only met online. If thou hast doubts, talk to someone thou trusteth and get educated at scams.utah.gov.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. A My Social Security account allows you to access your earnings history and benefits information, request a replacement Social Security card, get a proof of income letter, estimate and apply for benefits, and more. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security. Securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Welcome to Midday. 10 life-size Lego race cars hitting the road yesterday in the Miami Grand Prix Drivers Parade. You have to imagine that these F1 drivers jumping into the Lego replicas of their real cars for the first time. So think about this. Driver Carlos Sainz crawling into the driver's seat of his McLaren, sitting behind a square steering wheel made of Legos.
I couldn't believe it at first that this actually can go forward and be driven. Also with a slick tire on the wet, it's going to be fun.
On Formula One's YouTube channel, the drivers reacted to the cars made of some 400,000 Lego pieces each. Trying not to look too awkward as they climb into these beautiful yet somewhat fragile replicas, some of the pieces coming loose and needing to be readjusted.
It feels fast, to be honest.
Oh, look at this. We've got upgrades already.
This feels better than the real thing.
I got told they go up to 20 k's an hour, so I'm interested to see how much damage we can all do, but hopefully we don't have Lego going everywhere.
While the drivers didn't drive these cars at high speeds during their lap around the track, there were still a couple of collisions and, yes, a bit of Lego debris left in their path.
That was the most fun drivers parade we've ever had. Some dirty driving from this one here.
No, they're still in the wall.
Yeah.
The dirty boys are still in the wall back there.
That was great fun.
Lego says it took its creators 22,000 hours to design and build the fully drivable electric cars for the 10 teams of F1 drivers. Senior designer Jonathan Jurian tells ESPN the concept began with, imagine this, minifigures.
Well, obviously a minifigure is not the same proportions as a human, but that was the start. We then take that design and try to upscale it, so this is a 30-time upscale of that particular car. And then, then we try to, go piece by piece, design each part.
He says they tried to make the cars as realistic to the McLaren, the Ferrari, and other cars as possible. They were constructed on metal chassis, each weigh more than 3,300 pounds. Nearly 4 million Lego bricks were used in the process. Andy, you can see a time-lapse video of the process on the YouTube channel for Planet Car News. It's pretty interesting to watch how they went from beginning to end in building these cars, and they are beautiful.
No, and they are huge, and I do not have the patience to deal with it, so props to them.
Can you just imagine how much you should have seen the drivers. I mean, these are guys that they are driving the most fantastic cars in the world, and they were just fun to watch.
No, it's awesome.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Starting this week, you better start paying back those student loan payments that were frozen in the pandemic.
For most people, the best thing to do is going to be to contact something called the Default Resolution Group, and they will, sort of give you your options to help you get out of default.
The time is 2 o'clock on Monday, May 5th. It's midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. Coming up, what else you need to know about student loan collections restarting, and also this hour.
Do you think that she poses a threat to other children?
More from Elizabeth Smart's family on the rearrest of Wanda Barzee. But first, a look at our top stories. Our top local story this hour, people living near North Temple and Redwood Road are reacting to a natural gas explosion that happened behind a gas station early this morning. Linda Daimna was on her way to grab something from the Extra Mile convenience store when she discovered what happened.
I'm shocked, but at least no one got hurt, so that's what matters.
She says this area normally has a good amount of foot traffic, so it's a good thing that it happened overnight.
It could have been worse. People would have gotten hurt, honestly.
Now, she just moved in from South Africa and hasn't seen anything like this before. Our top national story from ABC News. President Trump has said he wants to impose tariffs on the film industry, posting on social media that a 100% tariff could be on the way for movies produced overseas. In the Oval Office today, the president told reporters he was planning to meet with representatives of the industry.
Hollywood doesn't do very much of that business. They have the nice sign and everything's good, but they don't do very much. A lot of it's been taken to other countries, and a big proportion. And I'm actually going to meet with some because, there's some advantages, I guess, and I'm not looking to hurt the industry. I want to help the industry.
The president hasn't gone into any details about what would fall under the tariffs or when they would start. KSL movie show host Andy Farnsworth says he doesn't think we'll see higher costs at the box office, but we might see fewer movies as studios decide the expense isn't worth it.
The other flip side is because, there's always reciprocal tariffs. What about U.S. films that were looking to get more money internationally? And now the international people would be like, yeah, you know what? We're not really interested in taking that American film anymore that we used to, that we might have done in the past.
And he says many studios opt to film in other countries because of their incentives, but it's still cost prohibitive for smaller studios and independents to shoot in the U.S. Taking a look at your money at this moment at the close, the Dow ending down 98 points, about 0.25%, sitting at 41,219. S&P 500 down by 36. The NASDAQ down by 134 points. A new plant planned for the edge of the Great Salt Lake is expected to double the country's lithium output. Representatives from Lilac Solutions say the U.S. is currently producing about 2% of the world's lithium.
This plant will produce 5,000 tons of lithium per year.
Senior Project Director Steve Morey says it takes about 170 pounds of lithium to create the battery for an electric vehicle. He says they're hoping to have the plant online around the spring of 2027. Let's look at your traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Loans. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have an accident in Midvale. This is northbound I-15 approaching 7200 south. They do have all the vehicles now moved over to the left shoulder. We don't have any delays, but we're still waiting for more emergency crews to arrive at the scene. UTA is road therapy. Give your car a break and get more U-time. Plan your trip at rideuta.com or on the Transit app. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And taking a look at the forecast for the Wasatch Front, first couple of days of the week are going to be a little bit rainy, 80% chance of rain today, 50% tomorrow. Our highs in the 60s to begin, but then on Wednesday, temperature creeping up to 70 on Wednesday and then 78 on Thursday. We are talking mid-80s by the weekend. Right now, mostly cloudy and 59 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. Opening a My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal record and interactive tools tailored for you. You can see if you are eligible to receive benefits, view spousal benefit estimates, and compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates when you want to start receiving benefits. Already receiving benefits? Use your account to change your address, set up or change direct deposit, get a proof of income letter, and more. In most states, you can also request a replacement Social Security card. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Mom and Dad used to argue about everything, especially about Dad's drinking. My family went from totally crazy to quiet, calm, and even peaceful when Mom started going to Al-Anon family groups. I wanted a better relationship with Dad, so I asked Mom if she would take me to her Al-Anon meetings or to Alateen. I'm sure glad I did. If someone's drinking troubling you, you might be surprised at what you can learn in an Al-Anon or Alateen family group from people just like you. Call 1-888-4-ALANON or go to alanon.org.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Thanks for tuning in to Midday with Maria Shilaos. For those who are used to hearing inside sources at this time, we welcome you to this new show. Our goal is to report the news and tell the stories of the people behind it. We'll dig deeper, ask the important questions, and share the stories that connect us all. This hour, we wanted to begin discussing student loan repayments beginning. After 5 years, the federal government and the Department of Education are set to begin collections on defaulted student debt today, with the Trump administration threatening to garnish income like Social Security earnings if these payments are not continued. There are 43 million student loan borrowers in the country, and about a third of them have already started making their repayments. But there's the 5 million who have defaulted on their student loan payments, and another 4 who are close to defaulting on those payments and could risk being in default when their repayments begin. Now, this is something that could affect Utahns of all walks of life. To help us get to the heart of the story, we spoke with Richard Borshesky, who is Salt Lake Community College's Senior Director of Financial Aid and Scholarships. His advice for people with student loans that were in default?
A good place to start is going with your loan servicer. But we want to encourage anybody who's got a student loan out there that you still probably have options for repayment. And the servicer or the Department of Education or even your school that you attended before would be good resources to try to see what options you may have.
We asked him how this situation is affecting the SLIC community.
With our situation at the community college, we tend to be a lot less expensive to come here. And fortunately, we have a lot of different areas where you could get scholarship money to help pay for your whole tuition. We only have about 10% of our students actually receive student loans in general. So it hasn't been as much of an issue with people coming our way. Maybe four-year institutions and definitely graduate professional institutions, they might be looking at it a little bit harder.
For those who aren't in college yet but might be worried about student debt, he says it's important to do the research ahead of time.
What is the average indebtedness coming out of the school that they're going to is always a good question to look at. And a lot of these numbers are available online for students through the reporting from the schools, or just contact the office and see the financial aid office and see what is their average indebtedness of students leaving their school there, just to get an idea of what kind of cost that would be for your repayments.
Now, if you do have a student loan and you're curious if this change affects you, how do you find out? Author and MarketWatch Assistant Managing Editor Jillian Berman explains how to find out the status of your government student loan.
If you're wondering whether or not you're in default on your student loans, the best thing to do is to check your account at studentaid.gov, sign in there, and it should be pretty clear to you whether or not you're in default.
We're going to take a quick 60-second break. When we return, more on student loan repayment.
This is Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. Way back in 1989, I started servicing hot tubs in Park City, and I learned the hard way in the freezing winter in the mountains that hot tubs are not built for Utah's harsh climate. I then found the Arctic Spa, the most northern manufacturer of hot tubs built specifically for the northern climates. Arctic Spas use perimeter insulation similar to your house where the outside walls are insulated. This allows us to utilize the excess heat from the motors to help heat the water and reduce your electric cost each month. Since then, we have sold 10,000 Arctic Spas here in Utah. We've learned that Arctic Spas last longer because they are built stronger. You can just feel the difference. Arctic Spas are easier to fix because we put access panels all the way around the spa, which makes it less expensive for you. Add this to the lower electric bills each month, and you end up with the least expensive hot tub to own over the long term. Arctic Spas, with stores covering all of Utah in Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George, or online at arcticspasutah.com. Arctic Spas, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate.
Welcome back to Midday. We are continuing our coverage of student loan repayments. Collections are restarting today. Let's get a national look at the situation from ABC News' Start Here podcast.
In some circles, May 5th is known as a day for the partiers. Every bar in college towns seem to offer a Cinco de Mayo special. But this year, the 5th of May has represented something different for a lot of people with student loans. It's now become a day of anxiety because today, for the first time in years, the federal government will start collecting on student loan payments, whether you consider yourself ready to pay them back or not. ABC's Arthur Jones II covers the education department. Arthur, can you just explain what's happening here?
Yeah, Brett, today a collection notice to about 5 million student loan borrowers who have been in default, meaning they couldn't pay their loans for roughly 9 months, goes out to those millions of people, warning them that this could be dire, garnishing wages, even taking from Social Security and impacting their credit scores.
Debt cannot be wiped away. It just ends up getting transferred to others. So why should Americans who didn't go to college or went to college and responsibly paid back their loans pay for the student loans of other Americans?
Student loan borrowers who've been in default for the past 5 years had a pause on those payments due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
You'll no longer see your loan balance grow because of unpaid interest. Under the SAVE plan, monthly payments are based on your income, not your student loan balance.
And now those payments will restart. But it's important to note that student loan borrowers who couldn't pay their debts typically don't pay them because they don't want to, but it's because they simply can't. So this has been a hardship on them over the last 5 years. And now, for the first time, they're going to have to repay the government, in which the Department of Education says they willingly took these loans. Now they got to pay them back.
Which, the difference here then is that it's not just that they're telling you gotta repay us. In fact, these loans are different from other loans where, like, if you don't pay your house mortgage, they take away your house. If you don't pay your car loan, then they take away your car. They can't take away your education. So here, they would actually take the money from you, whether that's through your federal tax refunds or from your Social Security payments. I heard you say wage garnishments. How much can the federal government take from your employer?
Experts I've spoken to said they can take up to 15% of your weekly paychecks in wage garnishment. This could really impact student loan borrowers who are in some really dire situations who haven't been able to pay these debts for more than 5 years. 15% of that paycheck is a really steep price to pay, and many student loan borrowers just do not have the funds to make ends meet after those wage garnishments. And so this could be potentially tragic for millions of borrowers, meaning they can't take any more financial student aid if they would elect to go back to school, meaning they can't get loans like for cars or homes.
A student loan default will stay on your credit report for up to 7 years. So that means it can impact and drag down your credit score for that long of a period.
You know, this is a real life consequence for millions of people.
What would that mean for all these Americans with student loan debt? How many are we talking about, by the way?
There are 43 million student loan borrowers in this country, and about a third of them have already started making their repayments. But then there's the 5 million who have defaulted on their student loan payments, and another 4 who are close to defaulting on those payments and could risk being in default when their repayments begin. The rest of the student loan borrowers in this country are mainly in forbearance, meaning that their repayment is still paused.
I mean, that is wild, though, that at this point, with all these tens of millions with student loans, only a third of them have even started resuming paying them back. I guess what should people with student debt be aware of then? Like, what should they be doing? Who should they be contacting to avoid these kinds of consequences?
Student loan borrowers should be looking out for communications and emails from studentaid.gov. That is the website that the department says will help navigate the student loan process as we go into these collections. But I've spoken to many Department of Education employees who have been impacted actually by this reduction in force. President Trump has slashed nearly half of the Department of Education's workforce, and hundreds of them work for the federal student aid program.
A couple of thousand people have been let go from the department. We can expect that that's going to affect, the way in which loans get processed.
And so what many experts have told me is that without these hundreds of employees at the department who no longer have jobs due to the reduction, this could only impact the student loan process even further, because the skilled civil servants who have worked at the department and who have run the $1.6 trillion student loan portfolio no longer have jobs.
Right. And in the meantime, I'm just thinking of like the uncertainty also seems like the particularly problematic part of all of this, right? So the Biden administration said a lot of you probably aren't going to have to pay these back. The court said, no, they're going to have to pay these back. Nothing happened for a while. The Biden administration was like, we'd like you to, but you don't have to. We're not going to come after you. The Trump administration has basically said that's unfair to everyone involved. It's unfair to people who are paying. It's unfair to taxpayers. And it's even unfair to these Americans with student debt who are like, maybe I should just hold on and not pay because it could be wasted money if I finally get my debts forgiven. And that seems to be why the Trump administration is like, no, we're putting our foot down. You're going to start paying, and you're going to start paying right now unless you can prove severe financial hardship. Arthur Jones II, covering the Ed Department. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anytime.
Still ahead on Midday, one of the women convicted of helping kidnap Elizabeth Smart has been rearrested. What the Smart family has to say about it coming up next. First, a look at traffic and weather is brought to you by Mountain America's My Style Homegrown Home Loans. Ricky?
Well, we don't have a whole lot of delay, but there is a little bit of curiosity slowing northbound on I-15. It's due to this crash in Midvale approaching 7200 South. One vehicle already being loaded up on the tow truck. What's left is over to the shoulder, and that's going to be cleared away any moment now. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for youth.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals into your body.
And nicotine, which can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media.
Many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping.
Because when you talk, they hear you.
Learn more at underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Come on, the meeting's already started.
Sometimes it's important.
Last call, boarding gate number 9.
Sometimes it's urgent.
Prep for alarm.
Sometimes it's vital. Hospital treatment within 1 hour of a stroke can prevent lifelong disability. If you notice someone experiencing sudden weakness on one side or having a problem speaking, walking, or seeing, call 911 fast. Stroke. Know the signs. Act in time. A message from the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke.
The main character in every news story is a real person.
I want people who listen to Midday to listen to the show and think it is about them. They're hearing a story that touches them in some way.
The main character in every news story is you.
Whether it is their pocketbook, whether it is their child's safety, people should hear something that is more thought-provoking.
Midday with Maria Shilaos. All new noon to 3 on KSL News Radio.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared.
Prevent your child's next asthma attack. Call 1-866-NO-ATTACKS. Visit www.noattacks.org or call your doctor, because even one attack is one too many. Brought to you by the EPA and the Ad Council.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel you attract people who tend to be compulsive or abusive?
Do you have money problems because of someone else's drinking?
Are you afraid or embarrassed to bring your friends home?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
More than half of all adults have a family history of alcoholism.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
You are listening to Midday with Maria Shilaos. One of Elizabeth Smart's kidnappers has been arrested and accused of violating the terms of the sex offender registry. Salt Lake City Police say Wanda Barzee visited 2 local parks recently, saying that the Lord commanded her to visit them. The 79-year-old was booked into jail and then released. She served time in both federal and state prison for kidnapping Smart alongside Brian Mitchell, who is serving a life sentence. KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas with his thoughts.
A lot of people are wondering why she was released. She was sentenced originally by the state on a charge that carried 1 to 15 years in prison, and I think she did the entire 15 years. So people were upset that she got out, but she couldn't have served any more time. And then she did federal time as well. So she did a significant amount of time, but it wasn't a life sentence like Brian David Mitchell got.
Elizabeth Smart's father, Ed, spoke about the rearrest on David Dujanovic today.
My concern is that I think that I don't know that she poses a threat to Elizabeth at this point, but I do think that she poses a threat to other children. And, the whole issue of, is she in touch with Brian Mitchell when she starts talking about God told me to do this or God told me to go there? That is in my mind, that is, she undoubtedly has some mental illness, and it perpetuates, the whole ordeal. I mean, it allows her to try to excuse herself where, she has no excuse. She knows she's not supposed to go to the park. My understanding is that she isn't on an ankle bracelet. I definitely think that she should be put back on one. And if she, continues to violate, she'd go back to prison. But at this point, I really believe that ankle bracelet should go back on. She should be monitored. And, if she comes up with more excuses, I just spoke with Elizabeth, and she had heard that someone had identified Wanda, and that's how she was found. So I think that, obviously Wanda seems incapable of keeping her parole, and that she needs to be monitored. I believe that she very well could, put another child's life in jeopardy.
While Elizabeth's kidnapping was more than 20 years ago, her father says he's still worried about Barzee.
I don't think that you ever escape from these types of things in life. Our concern really is that she doesn't have an opportunity of harming another child. So really the bottom line, when you hear about California releasing all these sex offenders, this is something that, happens all over the place. The issue is, can we keep the children safe? When she starts using the terms, God told me to, I think that we can't allow that excuse to, condone her behavior. And if she gets the ankle bracelet put back on her and continues to violate that, then she should go back to jail.
KSL News Radio's Debbie Dujanovic speaking with Ed Smart about Barzee's sex offender status.
Because part of the restriction of being a sex offender is not going to, or at least her restriction is not going to a community park. So that's
right.
It's pretty clear, right, in terms of a restriction.
Yeah, she just needs to be kept away from children. So, whatever. We certainly have the technology to become aware and alert that, she is violating her parole again. Many states have a 3 strikes and you're out policy, not with regard necessarily to being the sex offender, but, regarding crimes. And she's very manipulative. And so whether she just used the God as an excuse, I think that many people, use that as an excuse for their behavior, but they're the ones in control, and where she's been told not to, she shouldn't, if she's going to violate that, now it would indicate that, she's probably going to do that again.
And Ed Smart's final thought today?
We don't want to hear about other kids being taken. And if by chance Brian Mitchell, I don't know if she has any contact with him or not, but if the two are in cahoots, I wouldn't put it past them to, try doing something to another child.
And we'll be back with more national news in just 1 minute here on Midday.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Thanks for being with us on Midday. A look now at some national stories. The Trump administration now says it will offer immigrants $1,000 if they deport themselves out of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security says people would receive the money after returning to their home country. President Trump talks about the plan at the White House.
We're going to pay each one a certain amount of money, and we're going to get them a beautiful flight back to where they came from, and they have a period of time.
The president also says some will be allowed back.
Maybe someday, with a little work, they can come back in if they're good people.
Meantime, the chaos at Newark Liberty International Airport continues, and experts say it could be weeks until things get back to normal. Hundreds of flights have either been delayed or canceled after a major event last week led some air traffic controllers to take medical leave. This is on top of the existing controller shortage at Newark, and construction on one of its runways also means delays that could last hours. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says he wants the federal government to look into what happened.
I have asked the Office of Inspector General to thoroughly investigate what's going on at Newark and in the East Coast so these problems don't get worse and spread all across the nation. The chaos at Newark could very well be a harbinger if issues like these aren't fixed.
And across the pond, the British royal family is participating in celebrations to mark 80 years since the Nazis were defeated in Europe. But Prince Harry was notably absent from those celebrations. He told the BBC that his father, King Charles, isn't speaking to him. More from ABC's Ian Pannell.
It's kind of inconsistent. On the one hand, Harry is saying that he wants to reconcile and put the past behind them, let bygones be bygones, if you like. But then making statements saying he doesn't know how long, effectively, that he doesn't know how long the king is going to be alive. I mean, this doesn't go down well. It exposes divisions. And if you're trying to bury the hatchet, this, for some people, many people, I think, would not be construed as the best way forward.
Prince Harry recently lost a court case in the UK that would have increased his security detail for himself and his family. Executive producer of the show, Andy Cupp, has joined me in studio, and they're having a tough go, the royal family.
This has been really interesting, even if you're not a huge fan of the royal family. I mean, it doesn't really affect us here in the United States. It's been something really interesting to watch, just as this division has grown and grown. And for people who are big fans of reality TV, which most of the American populace are, this is something that just, tickles their fancy. This is like, I want more of this. It's interesting how it just keeps going.
It's interesting to look at how the Brits look at it compared to how the Americans look at it.
Yeah.
Americans would go, don't you think she needs more security?
Yeah.
The Brits would go, well, hey, you walked away.
Exactly. It's kind of this no man's land almost. Where do they end up?
So have you watched at all, The Prince with his children?
Just a little bit, not enough to know a whole lot about it. I follow more of the Meghan Markle drama.
Okay, well, I know that we are going to be hearing more about the prince in the coming days.
Oh, yes, we will.
You're listening to Midday with Maria Shilaos
on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
And thank you for joining us. Some of the stories we are following. It's Cinco de Mayo, which is more American than you might think, and a longtime video calling platform is hanging up the line. First, a quick check of traffic, Ricky.
Right now, we are back to a crash-free commute on the Valley freeways, delay-free as well. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL's top local stories in just 1 minute, but first, ABC News.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The Trump administration now offering to pay airfare and a $1,000 stipend to migrants willing to self-deport. The president also floating a plan to reopen Alcatraz in San Francisco Bay, saying it represents law and order. Washington, D.C. set to host the NFL Draft in 2027. President Trump making that announcement earlier.
2027 NFL Draft. That's a big thing. Will be held right here in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., on the National Mall, and you get a little glimpse of it.
It comes a week after D.C.'s mayor announced the city reached an agreement with the Commanders to return to D.C. after the government builds a stadium on the old RFK site. That deal still pending council approval. Off the coast of Southern California, a search continues for 9 people still unaccounted for after a boat typically used in human smuggling washed ashore. The Coast Guard says 3 people have been found dead and there are 4 survivors. This is ABC News.
KSL's top local story. A man from Magna accused of trying to hire someone to kill his ex-wife and her mother now faces criminal charges. Orain James Spence faces felony charges after prosecutors say an informant alerted the FBI to the plot and recorded conversations discussing the planned murder. Spence's divorce was finalized just last month. Police say they found an envelope with a large amount of cash in it when they went to arrest him. Frozen student loan repayments start back up this week, and the government has a plan to get the money from borrowers.
That money will reportedly be taken out of federal payments.
That will include taking tax returns, potentially for some folks. It could be Social Security payments. And then it begins the process where they can start working with employers on garnishment.
Weber State University's VP for Student Access and Success, Jessica Euler, tells David Dujanovic the government will work with federal or private employers to get the garnishments in motion. That is expected to start in the next couple of months. The government will reach out at least 30 days before reaching out to employers. Euler says that in that time, borrowers can try to work out a different loan payment option. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
A $10,000 reward is now on the table for anyone who has information about a 3-year-old cold case in West Valley. 45-year-old Pete Ulibarri was killed in a drive-by shooting. Detective John Wells says Ulibarri was not gang affiliated, but they believe that his killer is.
We believe this is a gang-related homicide, so we're looking at people that would know these gang members that would be involved with them, that maybe heard them talking about it, maybe heard them say something, maybe heard someone claim responsibility for having done this.
West Valley Police are offering the money themselves to anyone who has information that leads to an arrest and successful prosecution. A meteor shot across the night sky on Saturday, and northern Utahns got a front row seat to the green glowing ball. Education program supervisor at the Clark Planetarium, Jason Trump, says the green color is actually because of the composition of the rock.
As it gets really, really hot, the oxygen around the object actually ionizes, and so you could get a green color from that. You can get a green color from a composition that has a lot of nickel in it, for instance, or other metals or things like that.
The American Meteorological Society hasn't found any pieces of it yet, but Trump says that they could definitely be here in Utah. And taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow ending the day down by 99 points, 0.25%, sitting at 41,218 at the close. S&P 500 is down by 36 points, and the NASDAQ gets down by 134 points. Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. Ricky, I'm glad traffic has improved.
It has here in the valley. I'm afraid, though, for Summit County drivers, we have a mess sitting on Highway 40. This is going northbound. The flyover ramp from Highway 40 to I-80 at Silver Creek Junction is closed right now to traffic, and we're seeing backups, and the rain is not helping. If you are in Summit County northbound Highway 40 trying to get to I-80, there will be a detour, but you can expect probably 2 to 3 miles of delays. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Forecast for the Wasatch Front calls for still a 50% chance of showers tomorrow, but that chance decreasing on Wednesday, and then it looks like a couple of dry days until we hit the weekend. And the temperature's climbing, though, up into the mid-80s by the weekend. Right now, 60 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
If you've got a honey-do list with electrical, plumbing, heating, or air conditioning projects on it, Any Hour Services can help. Call Any Hour Services, electrical, plumbing, heating, and air. AnyHourServices.com.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular to get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for autopay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
You are listening to Midday with Maria Shilaos. For those who are used to hearing inside sources at this time, we welcome you to this new show. Our goal is to report the news and tell the stories of the people behind it. We'll dig deeper, ask the important questions, and share the stories that connect us all. Today is Cinco de Mayo, a day many of us associate with delicious tacos or burritos, chips and salsa, churros, and let's not forget margaritas. But the holiday is often confused with Mexican Independence Day, which is actually celebrated in September.
Cinco de Mayo was only celebrated in Puebla, Mexico, which is one of the states in Mexico. And it's now become an international holiday that was created by the American people because we like to party, and it's another holiday for us to party. But the reason for celebrating Cinco de Mayo is because it's actually celebrating the Battle of Puebla, where about 500 Mexican, there weren't even troops, they were just, farmers and citizens of that town that fought a 5,000 army of the French that were trying to overtake Mexico City. And the Mexican people actually won the battle.
Brandy Farmer is the president and CEO of Centro Cívico Mexicano, and she says before the community center was opened, the day was celebrated in homes.
Many years ago, it was the men who came out to work in the mines, the fields, and the railroad. They missed their family, so they started to bring their family, began to go to school, and then celebrate their festivals, and Cinco de Mayo was one of them. They organized in people's homes until the festivals were too big, and they started to look for a place that they could celebrate, and they weren't able to rent a space because they weren't allowed. There were signs up that said no Mexicans or dogs allowed. And so it was in the 1950s that the property here at Centro Cívico Mexicano was purchased for about $500. But we have festivals all over the state here and all over the country. And the other thing about Utah is that Utah was part of Mexico. So was California, New Mexico, Arizona, and I believe Idaho and Colorado. And that was given up in the Mexican-American War because the Americans won that war. But we go back, the Mayans who were in existence, 2000 BC, created the Mayan calendar. You've probably heard about that, and it ended not too long ago, but Utah is included in the Mayan calendar. But it doesn't matter who you are. We invite everyone to come and enjoy and teach people about our culture. We have here at Centro Cívico, we have several dance groups that we sponsor. They perform all over. They go international. Sometimes they go, out of state. We have 2 bands that we also sponsor here. And it's also a safe place for them because when they come here and I do a welcome for them, and I always say, this is your place. This is your home. This is a safe place for you.
In today's political climate, do you think the significance of Cinco de Mayo is different, or how is it different this year than it has been for you in years past?
For one, it's been a little bit more difficult to get people to come to the event, and so I'm doing my best, making phone calls, and it's been a little bit difficult. And other programs, they don't seem to be affected. They feel safe when they come here, But I asked them, what it's like for them, and especially their children that are going to school, and they've told me, my children are afraid to go to school. I can't make them go because they're afraid that they're going to come home and I will be gone. And so we hear a lot of stories like that. And so anyway, my heart breaks for them. And so it's a little bit more somber. And that's why it's important for us to celebrate and just let people know, this is our culture. Let's always continue to celebrate it. Let's educate all the communities about our culture and what a beautiful artistic culture it is. We also want to educate the rest of the community that we are a beautiful people and that we have contributed billions of dollars to the economy. Tortillas outsell bread right now. And but we've contributed, billions with a B by being the builders. When we built this building here, Casa Milagros, the builders were Latinos. And if you go out there when they're working on the roads, you'll see the Latinos on the roads. They're the ones doing the construction. They're the ones building the buildings. We have helped to build America. And so those are the things that we want people to recognize, that we're a part of this country and that we're a part of the builders. And Cinco de Mayo, we want you to come out and celebrate with us. I encourage you to join us and celebrate that battle. When you think about 500 battling 5,000 French troops, that's pretty amazing.
What would you like outsiders to think about on the Cinco de Mayo? What kind of message would you like to leave with them?
We want people to know that we are a wonderful and lovely people, and that we are as intelligent, as creative, and as strong, and also, we're workaholics also. The reason for that is because a lot of us don't get paid as much as everyone else does. And so we work more jobs and we work harder than anyone. But come and volunteer with us so that you get to know, what we're about.
One community celebrating tonight is Draper City, and in 60 seconds we'll learn what you will find at Draper City Park tonight.
Tonight on KSL.
People lie to us all the time.
Who's lying to police and what are they lying about?
What was your name?
KSL investigator Daniela Rivera went through hundreds of cases to find out.
Do you think people know that it's a crime to lie to the police?
I think they should.
From small lies to serious accusations.
You framed her for a crime. Yeah.
The crimes most likely to trigger a lie.
Don't lie to us.
KSL investigates Lying to the Law tonight at 10.
The KSL News Radio Movie Show comes to My Hearing Centers Friday from 10 to 1. But first, discover what My Hearing Centers can do for you. My Hearing Centers uses advanced technology to diagnose and treat hearing loss. These comprehensive evaluations determine the best treatment options. Then enjoy lifetime support with regular check-ins, cleaning, and maintenance. Call My Hearing Centers at 801-701-1629. 801-701-1629 for more details. My Hearing Centers has offices from Ogden to St. George.
Draper City is celebrating Cinco de Mayo from 6 to 8 tonight at Draper City Park. And Communications Director Linda Peterson spoke with me, and she says this has become an annual family event.
We have made an effort to offer more diverse offerings with our events and programs in the city. We recognize that there's a variety of people from different backgrounds who live here, and we want everyone to feel like they're part of the community and that their culture and traditions are important. We also offer an International Arts and Crafts Festival in September every year that offers, again, more diverse entertainment, cultural experiences, opportunities for vendors to come out and sell handmade things. And they've just been really well received by the community. It's a fun night for the family to get out and get outdoors instead of being inside and on our devices all the time.
Kind of describe what's going to be happening.
It's free, which is a big plus these days because everything is so expensive, and so we try to offer as many free events as we can so that people can come outside and disconnect and get away. And also, so we will be offering live entertainment. There's about 10 or 11 food trucks that will be on site with a variety of good offerings. And we will have volunteers from Canyon School District and our Draper Mayor Youth Council doing some free sugar skull style face painting in the spirit of the holiday.
Right. Kind of walk me through what someone's going to see when they walk up to the park.
It's a pretty lively event. There's a rotating schedule of primarily dance groups on our stage. And I believe they have about half an hour or so each. So there'll be that entertainment going on. As I mentioned, the free face painting, the kids love that, and it really gets them into the spirit of it. And then the food vendors will be spread around. So the focus is coming out, enjoying the food trucks, eating outdoors while you're enjoying some cultural entertainment.
You mentioned that you've gotten really good feedback. Can you just give me an idea of what you've heard from the residents?
Yes, our residents have really enjoyed these, again, free opportunities to get out with their families because things are expensive right now. They've enjoyed the entertainment and, of course, the food. Everyone loves Mexican food, and there's a combination of, main dishes and treats, and the entertainment is always colorful and fun to watch.
Draper's Cinco de Mayo festivities getting underway at 6 tonight, rain or shine at Draper City Park. And yes, we all love the food. Still to come on Midday, time to hang up the call. Microsoft Skype is finally saying goodbye. Tech news is coming up after the break. But first, emergency traffic again, Ricky?
Again, and it's brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. And we have two hot spots. One is in Utah County, southbound I-15. An accident approaching Lehigh Main Street, blocking right lanes, already causing delays back to 2100 North Lehigh. Again, rain also a factor if you're driving that area. Then in Summit County, heavy delays. They fill in and clear out, fill in again. This is northbound Highway 40. They start just after SR 248 and continue up to the I-80 junction where that flyover ramp is closed to traffic. Look for the detour. Another true David versus Goliath miracle movie from director T.C. Christensen. See Raising the Bar, the story of high jumper Elma Richards' journey from rural Utah to an Olympic gold medal in theaters now. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
It's Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I've got something important to talk to you about, your 401k. If you have changed jobs, there are two very important considerations. You don't want to leave your 401k behind, and you don't want to roll it over into your new company plan without consulting Trajan Wealth first. 401ks will often have limited investments or age-based options. Since companies have to make choices to suit all employees, they may not be suited to you, which could cost you fees and money. When you roll over your 401k into an IRA, you not only keep your money growing tax deferred, but you also gain access to a world of investment options specifically designed for you. Trajan Wealth and our fiduciary advisors have helped thousands, and we can do the same for you. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
You trust us for news and information in your car. Now trust us at home. KSL News Radio has you covered, keeping you informed on the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, sports, and more. Listen on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. Just say, Alexa, open KSL News Radio. Or listen on the KSL News Radio Listen app. Text the word app to 57500. KSL News Radio. We have you covered.
Are you thinking about buying medicine online? A search for online pharmacies yields more than 20 million results. But which ones can you trust? Medicines bought from unlicensed online pharmacies can be dangerous. You may get a fake drug, your condition may get worse, or you may experience a bad reaction. Don't put your health at risk. To learn how to find an online pharmacy that's safe and legal, visit fda.gov/BeSafeRx. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Hey there, I'm Jack.
And I'm Stag.
We're just two deer that want to make sure you know it's deer season at your authorized John Deere dealer. The deer season that saves bucks. You know, like us.
Yeah, you can get $3,000 off select John Deere machines. No early wake-up calls or tree stands required.
Just a trip to your authorized dealer before June 2nd.
If you ask us, it's the only deer season worth celebrating.
Visit johndeere.com/deer season to find an authorized dealer and for complete finance details.
Get ready for Camping World's Red, White, and New trade event, May 15th through the 18th. Get the highest value for your RV guaranteed during the biggest RV trade event of the year. Shop the best RV deals in America with new RVs starting as low as $92 a month. Get ready for the holiday weekend with up to 45% off grills and 25% off product installation. Plus, we'll have free hats, free propane refills, free food, and fun for the whole family. Don't miss the incredible Red, White, and New trade event, May 15th through the 18th at your local Camping World.
See with the full details and disclaimer.
This is Midday with Maria Shilaos. It used to be the biggest name in online video calling, and now it's hanging up. ABC's Mike Dubusky takes a look back.
Skype was founded back in 2003 and bought by eBay in 2005. The auction site struggled to integrate Skype into its business, so it divested a few years later. In 2011, Microsoft acquired Skype for $8.5 billion. During the early days of the pandemic, 70 million Skype calls were happening daily, but by then the service was facing external competition from Zoom and internal competition from Microsoft Teams. Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
Microsoft says existing Skype users will be able to log into the free version of Teams without having to make a new account. We're going to take a quick 1-minute break. When we return, check your calendar and look closely at today's date. Notice anything special? Now, we already talked about Cinco de Mayo. It's not that, but we will tell you what it is in 60 seconds.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. Opening a My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal record and interactive tools tailored for you. You can see if you are eligible to receive benefits, view spousal benefit estimates, and compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates when you want to start receiving benefits. Already receiving benefits? Use your account to change your address, set up or change direct deposit, get a proof of income letter, and more. In most states, you can also request a replacement Social Security card. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Our inaugural Midday with Maria Shilaos is going to finish up with something a little lighter. Now, if you look at the calendar today, you may notice something special, something other than Cinco de Mayo. Today is 5/5/25, otherwise known as Square Root Day. Here's KSL News Radio's Andy Cupp with a look at this odd day.
4, 9, 16, 25, 36. What all these numbers have in common? They're squares. 4 is divisible by 2 2s, 9 is divisible by 2 3s, 16 by 2 4s, and so on.
So the square root is a symbol that's like a shortcut for the length of a square whose area is equal to the number you started with. So like the square root of 25 means the number that when you multiply it by itself, you get 25. And of course, we know the square root of 25 is 5. But in general, that's what the square root means.
That's Dr. Eric Moss, visiting assistant professor of mathematics at Boston College. Now, if you're like me, you might already be a little dizzy. Numbers spinning around in your head. I went into journalism for a reason. There's a lot less math. But square roots can be pretty simple. Kids usually start learning about them pretty early on.
Square root of 1.
Just 1. How's that so easy?
Square root of 25.
5.
Square root of 81.
9.
Square root of 121.
11. It's getting harder.
Now, if that's too simple for you, we can make it a little more complex.
It's an analogy to geometry. So like square roots, they really just come from geometry. So if I say that 4 is the square of 2, what I'm really saying is that if you have a square with the side length of 2, the area of the square is 4. And so I can say, instead of saying the area of the square formed with side length 2 is 4, then instead I would just say the square of 2 is 4.
Now that you've got it down pat and you could easily get an A in the subject, how can you celebrate this informal holiday? Dr. Eric Moss again.
You know, I think Pi Day has a long established history in the math holiday space, but I think Square Root Day is a fairly newer, it's less well known. I'm gonna have to come up with something. Maybe I heard that maybe some people they buy root vegetables and cut them into squares and eat them. So maybe I'll get some turnips and cut them into squares or cubes and eat those.
So if you're looking to make dinner a little more exciting and educational tonight, maybe do what Dr. Moss is doing. Go buy a root vegetable, cut it up into squares, or technically cubes, but we won't overcomplicate it, and roast them. A great way to celebrate a unique holiday with your family. After all, we won't have another Square Root Day until June 6, 2036. Andy Cupp, KSL News Radio.
Are you doing anything special for Square Root Day, Jeff?
No, I'm trying. Yeah, you know what I'm doing? I'm trying to remember the equation you use to figure out the square root of, say, 37. It's some unending number, and I'm trying to remember.
And the journalists don't get it
No,
at all.
It was, you know,
But you have quite a bit of time to decide what you want to do because it's not going to be around for a while.
The Square Root Day. Plant things? Roots? I don't know. We eat pie on Pie Day,
like that.
right?
I can definitely get into planting things.
There
for
you
sure.
go, gardening.
Okay, so thank you so much for being with us on this special inaugural edition of Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos, passing things off to Jeff Kaplan for the afternoon news. What's coming up on your show?
Well, first of all, President Trump has been riffing. He must have had a quiet weekend. He dreamed up the idea of paying immigrants to self-deport. There was reopening Alcatraz, so there's plenty to talk about. And, of course, we're following the investigation into the early morning explosion in Salt Lake City and the meteor that streaked across the night sky on Saturday night. That's coming up.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel you attract people who tend to be compulsive or abusive?
Do you have money problems because of someone else's drinking?
Are you afraid or embarrassed to bring your friends home?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
More than half of all adults have a family history of alcoholism.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. I'm here to warn you about telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Some of these scammers may say threatening things like you will be arrested if you don't make payments or provide personal information. Do not fall for these tricks. These calls are not from us. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you for information or money. If you receive a call like this, hang up. Never give the caller your personal information, like your Social Security number or bank account, or send money in any form, cash, gift cards, wire transfers, or prepaid debit cards. Report the call to our law enforcement arm, the Office of the Inspector General, at oig.ssa.gov. Share this information with your friends and family.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon, 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. We're at 59 degrees, kind of gloomy. It's raining in Provo right now. KSL's top story, the Trump administration says it's offering immigrants $1,000 each to self-deport. But local immigration attorneys say it's not that easy. KSL News Radio's Heather Peterson joins us live with details. Heather?
Jeff, the Department of Homeland Security said today they're providing travel assistance and a $1,000 stipend for those who voluntarily leave the country. Those who use the CBP Home app to self-deport will receive the stipend once they confirm they're back in their home country. Immigration attorney Carlos Trujillo with Trujillo Acosta Law told Maria Shilaos on Midday he said that you could still face punishment and be barred from re-entering the country by leaving this way.
And the fact that they're paying for you and the fact that you're going voluntarily is not going to excuse that punishment. So you have to be careful and understand what it actually means to leave the way that they're asking you to leave.
He recommends people contact an attorney before taking the government up on this offer. Trujillo added he thinks the administration could better spend that money on more personnel to help with backlogs in the court system. Reporting live, Heather Peterson, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour on KSL. President Trump says he got the idea to reopen Alcatraz. So the White House is now drawing up plans to turn the museum into a bigger, burlier, maximum security prison for the worst of the worst. He says Alcatraz is a symbol.
Just represented something strong having to do with law and order. We need law and order in this country.
But in San Francisco, they're not feeling it.
Alcatraz's buildings have been degrading for decades, crumbling in the salty ocean air. Shut down as a prison in 1963 when it was found to have been too expensive to run as a prison, now operated by the National Park Service. It's a regular tour and school field trip stop. Reopening it would likely mean tearing down historic buildings and starting over. California State Senator Scott Wiener.
The idea that it would be turned back into a prison would be so expensive and just so dumb.
Alex Stone, EBC News.
KSL News Time 3:02 off the coast of San Diego. The Coast Guard says a small fishing boat is capsized, leaving 3 dead, 4 hurt, 9 others missing. They're believed to be migrants trying to float into the U.S. Coast Guard crews are now searching for the missing near Torrey Pines Beach. The Army has decided to pause all chopper flights near Reagan National Airport. The halt in Black Hawk helicopter flights comes just days after a pair of commercial flights had to abort landings because of choppers getting too close. It's this same airport where a mid-air collision killed 67 people back in January. A month after his divorce, the FBI says a man from Magna reportedly tried to hire a hitman to kill his ex-wife and her mother.
Orrin James Spence faces felony charges in Utah's 3rd District Court. Criminal solicitation to commit murder and obstruction of justice. According to the charges, a confidential informant alerted the FBI to the scheme, then recorded phone calls in which a planned murder was discussed in detail, such as trying to make it look like a robbery or leaving drugs behind to stage the scene to